know who you are.
Yeah.
Number one, know your story as well. Know your story when you go into that space, because you can be easily abused. I've had an instant where I've had to challenge my boss. And if I didn't know who I am, and I wasn't, and I was like, I know how I got in here. I'm qualified, I'm skilled. Then you don't have fear in terms of how you approach uncomfortable situations.
Hey guys, welcome back to yet another episode of Get Corporate Ready. In this episode, we are going to be talking suits and stories, right? This is the Get Corporate Ready podcast where we invite some very, very interesting guests that are doing very interesting things with their careers, that have gone through different journeys. The idea really is to share with all of you guys what career could look like. I think a lot of us get stuck in it has to be this one-dimensional kind of trajectory that we go down. And it's good sometimes just to get a sense of what other people are doing and what they've been through and why they chose the careers that they have and why they've pivoted. And so I'm super excited today to be interviewing and chatting to Aurelia, who is running her own thing now, but she does a lot of different things, right? And I think she's such a well-accomplished person. So I'll let her introduce herself, and then we're going to go into some really interesting questions to just get a bit more of a sense of her journey and where she's at and what she's doing now. So Aurelia, thank you and welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Do we still say Happy New Year, compliments of the season?
Amen. Not now.
I mean, it's the first time I'm seeing you this year.
guess,
so even if it's June, I
February,
will be
compliments.
Compliments of the season.
Thank you, my dear. Same to you.
So, as she has said, I am Aurelia Nxumalo.
Hey.
I am an admitted advocate of the High Court of South Africa. I am an entrepreneur. I am a mom. I am an influencer.
What would I am, yes,
right?
It's
also, it's my affirmations right now as well. So
that's right.
I am a speaker and a lover of life and all things corporate. I'm a professionista.
Professionista.
Yes.
So what does that mean?
When I actually worked in corporate, I started something called the Professionista, so professional fashionista.
Yeah.
Because I would take pictures of my
your outfits and how you look.
Outfit of the day. And so then it actually grew into something where then I had events that I was hosting and passing the baton. So I had this blog once where it was passing the baton, where we would work with beginners in corporate.
Yeah.
And then when I was like at a beginning stage, then when I moved up and I'm like intermediary, then I've got access to like well-seasoned women in the corporate spaces. So I was like, okay, I'm going to be like that glue. So I did that for a bit, and then Professionista, COVID happened, and I was like, okay.
And tanked a bit.
Exactly. Yeah. So as you've said, so I study a lot as well. I love studying. I love upskilling. So whenever I'm looking for like the next job or the next, and how I actually look for what I'm going to study next, I go on LinkedIn and I look at the job that I want to be at. So if I want to be head of legal at a tech company, for instance, or a telecoms company, then I'm going to look at what do they
need?
Exactly.
What are they looking
then
for?
I'm like,
yes,
masters. That's what you need to do.
That's what I'm studying next.
Exactly, yeah. So I've actually done it a lot like that for a very, very long time. I collect certificates. I've got certificates for days because I'm like, okay, wow, that looks interesting. Let me get the practical and the theoretical experience of everything. Yes. So I've done, it's law. Started obviously my base is law. I've done compliance management, where I've been in the compliance space. I've done forensic audit and investigations. When I was in the fraud and risk, I was a fraud specialist at some point. But everything like intertwines with law, regulatory space as well. I just actually completed my certificate at WITS in labor dispute resolution practice, because I'm going through arbitration route now. So I actually chair disciplinary hearings and want to go do international arbitration.
Love it, love it, love it, love it.
So it's studying Brand South Africa, Play Your Part Ambassador as well. I've got a Learned Friend, which is our anti-bullying campaigns with legal education that we do in schools and in corporate spaces. We've got 2 programs, How to Be a Responsible Digital Citizen and anti-bullying programs that we do in schools.
Love it.
So that's it.
That's it. As if it's not a long list already, right? But one thing I want to share with you guys about what Aurelia has just shared is just loving to be someone that is constantly learning, right? I think too often we rely on whatever qualification we got at university and we think that that's what's going to carry us through from career to career. But the importance of developing skill sets, guys, and developing qualifications that are going to enable you to be marketable, that are going to enable you to pivot, right? A lot of you ask me questions around, I'm in this career now, I want to pivot to the next career, where do I start? I think that's a prime example of where you need to be starting all the time. Be someone that is curious, be someone that loves learning, be someone that's always wanting to just upskill yourself to stay relevant and ahead of the time so that you are always marketable and you're able then to go for the kinds of jobs that you want to, right?
Absolutely.
So I think that's a very, very key takeaway from Aurelia. So one of the first things that I wanted to just deep dive into, right? I wanted to do a little bit of an icebreaker. And so the icebreaker for you is I want you to tell me 2 truths and a lie. And then guys, I want you to comment at the bottom and tell me which one you think is a lie.
I'm turning 36 this year.
Okay. Statement 1.
Statement 1. Statement 2. You can practice law without a law degree.
Okay.
I've got 2 kids.
So guys, you heard the statements. Comment below which one you think is false, and we shall come back to you on what the real answer is. Okay. So the idea on the podcast is just to share and enlighten people that are still maybe early in their career journey, what corporate essay is about, right? And not just limited to corporate essay. We'll be speaking to people that are also doing things internationally as well. But the idea around demystifying what corporate is about, right? And how as young professionals, what it takes to kind of make it in corporate, right? And what are some of the things that you've experienced and all those kinds of things. So one of the first questions I wanted to ask was, what is one piece of advice you wish someone had given you prior to starting your law career, and why?
I wish I knew the diversity of the degree that I was studying. I wish I was exposed to more than just being an attorney or an advocate. I think my path would have, been quicker and faster and would have just made it a little easier.
Okay.
Because then you end up wasting a lot of time on doing things that are not fulfilling.
But you could have actually just pivoted, right?
Absolutely.
I get it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think that's why I like platforms like this. And I always say this, there's so many ways to skin. There's 9 ways or more to skin a cat.
Yeah.
I was in a position where I was exposed to more of a law degree. Like when you now look at people like Barack Obama, he's got a law degree. Patrice Motsepe, he's got a law degree. So, but they are businessmen.
They're businessmen. That's right.
And I mean, there's a lot more people that are doing their own thing, but their foundation is law. I love law. I love, what it is and what it represents. But I want people to know that there is so many things you can do with a law degree. There's so many areas of a career that you can take with a law degree.
With a law degree. Maybe I want you to expand on that a little bit, right? I have a lot of law students or people that have studied their LLB struggling to get into articles, right? We know that getting into articles is can be a very competitive space.
Absolutely.
And a lot of them are sitting at home, they've got their LLB and like they don't know what to do. They're not in articles. And that's kind of the pinnacle, like, right? That's what they had. That's what they did articles for. That's why they're in that kind of stream, is to do articles. What is it? What 2 or 3 other areas do you think they could be considering if they're not getting into articles?
Okay.
And how do they go about doing that and finding those kinds of opportunities?
So if you have, articles, it's very tricky because you have to actually apply for your articles like while you're on your 3rd year, if not even your second year. And when you do that, and again, as you've said, it's a competitive space. But if you do not get into articles, I would advise that you go to law school. But again, it's a money issue there as well. So you can do 6 months professional legal training, where then it assists you and trains you towards writing your board exams, because there's still your board exams that you have to write in the 2 years of the articles, But if you are in a position where you don't get articles, there are a lot of companies and corporates that offer internships. And just be doing something while you're trying to find or secure articles, because you do need to do articles to then be qualified as well and be admitted. So I would say don't sit. Look at things that you could do. There are things like I've got friends that have worked as clerks of the court, and things. There are so many opportunities outside of being in a law firm, and while you are waiting in that process. Yeah. So I would say look at what internships are available. Look at what what government is doing. Look into those spaces. Yeah.
The one question I always ask or always get asked is around, yes, I may get into maybe a bank or do an internship at an insurance company, whatever the case may be. Should I still set my sights on doing articles, right? So I think a lot of people feel stuck because ultimately I still want to go do articles. But if you're not doing articles right now, how do you then, should you still hope to go and do it, or do you focus on what you are doing and make the best of that situation?
So, I had a great opportunity because I went to, what do you call it? Work experience when you started in high school. So from grade 11, I was already doing work experience, and I kept going back to the same law firm. So even when I started my law degree at UKZN, I was going to that law firm during the holidays for vacation work. So at that time, the Act did allow you that if you had, been in the area or been doing the articles, I guess over the 5 years while you were studying, it can accumulate to somehow being articles, right?
See.
And there's that way, which yes, it's longer. It's longer, but it's also while you're still studying and you are getting that experience.
Practical experience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I then did while I was at multi-choice. Because I knew quite early that I don't want to be in practice. I was like, I've always wanted to be a corporate lawyer. Yes, I wrote that in grade 11 in my scrapbook, but I didn't understand what I meant because I only had this limited knowledge of, in the corporate department in a law firm. But what I actually meant is to be a GC, which is a general counsel, in-house counsel, which is what I'm currently doing now.
Okay.
With that is that I was doing night school for 6 months. So I was at...
Hey, you in studying.
So I was, but again, it's that having that intention and that goal, right? So I'm like, okay, cool. I'm not doing articles right now, but I still want to be admitted. So do my night school for 6 months, write my board exams, and some firms then allow you to do only 1 year of articles.
Yes.
So then that's when you can then be admitted and then make the decision afterwards if you want to stay in corporate or be in practice. Yeah.
I love that. Thank you. I think that was quite a practical way of trying to show people how else you can still get to that point of being admitted by doing all of the different aspects, right?
Yeah.
Doing your work experience in between where you can get exposure, doing some additional night school. She spoke on practical legal training as well.
Yeah.
So there's many different ways, guys. And I think it's about being open-minded to how else you can get to your goal.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be in the same way that everyone is getting there.
Yes.
Because all of us are on a different journey, right?
Yeah.
But before I move on to the next question, I think the one thing that I loved about what you said is intentionality and setting goals.
Yes.
So guys, a lot of us are waking up way too late when it comes to what it is we want to do with our lives, what careers we want to embark on. And I keep preaching this all the time to say, be ahead of the game, right? So if you're in matric right now, know what it is, research what it is you want to do, research what it takes to get there, research which universities are great at teaching whatever it is that you want to get into. How else can we get in there? What are the practical ways of getting in there if I don't get into university? Guys, be resourceful, right?
Yeah.
Be resourceful, but it all starts with intentionality and setting goals. So set goals for your career. Make sure that you're intentional about all the different steps that you are taking towards your career, because that's what's going to enable you to really get to all of the different things that you want to get to in life.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what's made you successful in what you do, right? Just the ability to be resourceful, think outside the box in terms of your career.
Yes. And I think it's one of the things that I've always, I have a word for each year. The word was be multidextrous. And that meant, okay, if you want to take this opportunity, what does it take for you to be in that space, and being, again, going back to being intentional. So I've been so lucky in terms of like even the campaigns that I get where people come to me or agencies come and say, hey, we want you to be part of this panel, which is where I met you. We want you to be. I've never actually gone and be like, hey, this is who I am. I would like to be in this space.
Yes, you attract the opportunities
exactly.
To yourself.
So now what I've done is like I actually need to write to all the people that I've worked, the agencies, and be like, yo, this, if you know a brand that's looking for somebody that's like this, here's my bio, here's what I would like to pivot, into. Yes, there's intention, but I'm not sitting back and being like, okay, well, I already have like a following and they're watching me. And I'm just like, nah. But am I getting what I actually want to be aligned with? So this year's word is alignment.
Love it. I love it. It's so similar. Last year, my word, I also set a word for last year. I haven't set one for this year.
Yeah.
But I set one for last year and it was flow.
Oh, beautiful.
Right? Which is similar to alignment. Like just being in flow with who you are, with where you want to be, letting yourself guide yourself. Yeah. If you get what I mean, right?
Yeah.
So kind of blocking out the noise of what everyone expects of you to be doing.
Absolutely.
And just kind of going in flow with who you are and where you want to see yourself. So let's quickly just pivot back to your time in corporate, right? I wanna zone in a little bit on workplace dynamics.
Okay.
What for you, if you were to look back in your time in a corporate kind of space, what is the one thing that you would change about the workplace and why?
Sleeping bays.
So let me just understand
like
that.
A nap in between, guys.
But that nap comes to like you want to nap whilst you're at work.
Yes, like not a nap. You know, you have like your lunchtime. What if my lunchtime, I just want to take
a nap?
I just want like
power
10 minutes power nap. You know?
Yes.
But not even that, but a safe space for you to get
just
it together.
Collect yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Corporates where I've worked where they have prayer rooms for specific religions. But we don't have a room where somebody can feel safe and just reconnect and just calm the, like, you know, how corporate can be.
I know.
You get out of a board meeting and things get heated and you end up actually speaking out of turn and actually also ruining the person you want to be in corporate. And if you don't have a place where, you know, you can get it together again and then reconvene, I think it's really, really important, especially in the time of today where we are exposed to so much and so much happens, you know. There's been instances where you find tragic news while you're at work and you're sitting in your cubicle and you're just like, okay, don't make a scene, don't, you know, and things like that. And I think they need, and it's not going to the canteen or buy where the tea and coffee. It's a room like this, just where you can just be like,
man, I resonate so much with that.
Yeah.
Right? Because like you're saying, there's times where you get bad news, but it's got to you being in a meeting and you now have prepared and there's things that you need to be speaking on.
Yes.
But emotionally, like you're just not in the space to do anything. Like if it was up to you, you just drop it and you leave.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And you know you can't do that as well.
Yeah.
So that space where you can just go and like let it out.
Yeah. And breathe.
Breathe, collect yourself.
Exactly.
And I know a lot of people would have shared instances where they've kind of gone to the bathroom and they've just had a sobbing moment, right? Go to the bathroom cubicle, sob, recollect yourself and come back out again. But once again, that's not a private space, right?
It's not. It's also, you also then worried about, you hear a door and now you're like,
now you must collect. Hey.
And then you're like, you're alone again. Do you know what I'm saying? So, and yes, you can go to the car. You can go to the car park, but it's also just, it's not like, you know, like your home space.
Yeah.
I would have areas where I don't allow a TV in my bedroom because I'm like, for me, this is where
it's a quiet space.
Exactly, it's a quiet space. Even if you're having a fight with your partner, don't have a fight in the bedroom because now it becomes that place where it's like, you know?
Yes.
So you need to create safe spaces for people where there needs to be a room whether you are praying, we do a lot of fasting when you go back when you start the year. So now if I'm fasting and then I need to break my fast, I must just, okay.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So it's things
doesn't
like
work.
that where we have to be more inclusive and also quite thoughtful. But the naps are really important. Rest is so
Nap, guys, not to sleep, eh? Don't
not
sleep
to
through your
sleep because-
meetings.
But I guess that's the problem.
So a quick one. Let's maybe whilst we're on that, let's move into just understanding for you. You've had an interesting journey in your career. Ne? If you were to pick a theme song that represents your career, what would that be?
I think it's with Beyonce.
Yes.
For me, it's that it's knowing your power and knowing and pushing the envelope, knowing that, okay, I want to do that. Yes, I can do that. And then taking steps to doing that. Like you spoke, and I love what you said. I believe in research. That's why I think I like studying. I like knowing stuff. I like
Finding stuff out.
stuff out. And that's why sometimes I hate being on like a TikTok, because I also like crime investigation. So now there's this true crime thing that I follow, and I then go into this rabbit hole of a case that happened like in 19, I don't know what,
goodness.
so just being inquisitive and wanting to know more and wanting to upskill. You want to walk into a space and you don't have an opinion. It's knowing your power. And it's that song, and I believe I love music. So even now, I was listening. I was just like, okay, I'm hyping myself up.
I do that all the time, actually. Do you know that? And people sometimes think it's strange, but ahead of doing anything, whether I'm going to go speak, whether I'm going to come do this recording, like I put me and I blast it.
Absolutely.
Because it does. It energizes you. It gets you going.
Yeah.
So I love that.
Currently, I would say
that's your theme song right now.
Oh, but my song, you're me. I don't
You've
have
got many.
I
You've
don't
got
have
a library.
a genre. Exactly. I don't have a genre. If it's nice and it resonates and I love it.
Yeah.
And it does something to me, then I love it. Is something that I've had to learn. And I learned it actually from T.D. Jakes, one of his sermons, where he talked about, yes, there's your emotional intelligence and your IQ and all that, but your AQ,
adaptability quotient. Yeah. That even when you've set a goal, be flexible, be able to pivot, be able to adapt.
Yeah. A lot of us actually lost ourselves or lost what we were like, this is what I am. And now people lost jobs.
Yeah.
And there's people that were defined, and you're defined by the job that you do. So what do you do when that thing that defines you isn't there anymore? So you have to learn. I mean, I lost my job during COVID. The company, it wasn't because, I didn't know what I was doing, but it was the company no longer had money and the company closed down.
Yes.
And I was head of legal there, and I was sitting at home and I'm like, oh my God.
What now? Yeah.
I've never been in a position where I'm not working, and then that's how we started Learn It Friend with my friend Aurelia, and that's when I was like, okay, what can you do at home to alleviate and still feel what you need to feel, where you are helping somebody, you are making law easier. And then that's how we started.
That came about.
Yeah, the Learn It Friend, where we're just like, let's break down the restrictions, let's break down the family meetings, and any other stories that come up with a legal implication
to it.
So then that's how it grew to something more. But it was, if I didn't have that adaptability, and practice that and constantly practice that, it would be very difficult for me to move across industries, to also be, like, as I said, even with the influencer work, yes, people come to me, and I promise you, it's so tempting when you don't have a job and they're like, oh, please, can you be part of this campaign? And I'm like, I don't post alcohol.
Yeah. It goes against who you are, your values. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, but what I then said to them, if you have a CSI project, then I'll be involved. And lo and behold, they did.
They did.
Post-COVID, where they were helping businesses and restaurants who, were trying to recover. And I was like, that I can be part of, And it's also like those things also being very strategic in what you are. Because now I can take any campaign and then you're like, okay, but what does she stand for?
Yeah.
What does her brand say? Who is she? Because hey, now there's this a festival, now she's there. There's this, and I'm like, no, I'm the corporate girly, And what does that look like?
Guys, just to wrap up the session. I know, it feels very short.
Yeah.
But it's been such an insightful conversation, and I think so many nuggets, guys, so many nuggets that you could be taking from this, that you could be learning from. Just a way of thinking, the mindset of someone that wants to achieve, that's intentional, that's setting goals, that's really planning, you know, for the year, but also being able to be adaptable throughout the year as well, right? So just in closing, Aurelia, I want to ask you just one thing. What is the biggest lesson for you in a corporate space? Like, what's the one big thing that was a lesson for you? And any advice you'd like to leave with the audience today that are... Some are studying, some are working, some are feeling stuck.
Yes.
What piece of advice would you leave with the guys?
Know who you are.
Yeah.
Number one, know your story as well. Know your story when you go into that space, because you can be easily abused. I've had an instant where I've had to challenge my boss. And if I didn't know who I am and I wasn't, and I was like, I know how I got in here. I'm qualified, I'm skilled. Then you don't have fear in terms of how you approach uncomfortable situations. Don't allow yourself to be disrespected. And, it happens with a lot of us, especially as Black women, where we are taught respect, even in workspaces where now, ew baba, ew mama. But if that very person doesn't give you the same, then you have to be able to take that go back the way and be like, no, I'm still going to be respectful, but I'm going to set my boundary.
Yeah.
And I'm going to show you that this is where it stops. This I do not allow. I'll make an example. And it was something so small that stuck with me, where when I started out, and I was quite young, probably 22, and then I handed over a document to my boss, and, I put, yes, my hand under my elbow, and I was like,
as a sign of respect,
a sign of respect. And then he said, you must never do that. And I said, sorry, Auntie, don't do that. It shows weakness. I was like, no, it shows respect. And that's how I've been raised. And for me, it's respect. It's not weakness.
Standing up for yourself in corporate, guys, is something you are bound to face.
Yes.
And you can only do it when you know who you are.
Exactly.
To your point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't be scared. The policies will protect you.
The policies will protect you. Know your HR policies, guys.
Know your HR policies, definitely, because they will protect you. Because I think that, again, it's that fear, because you just like, you must like tiptoe around situations and things, and you got into this job, you are empowered.
Yeah.
Don't allow yourself to be bullied.
Yeah. Never allow yourself to be bullied, guys. Know your HR policies. That's what's going to protect you. And you heard it first from Aurelia. So, guys, thank you so much for joining us today. I still want to see what your comments are below around the two false and the two truths and lie. But thank you, Aurelia. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for gracing us with your presence. And we're looking forward to seeing what life has in your alignment here this year.
Oh, thank you.
Wishing you everything of the best.
Thank you so much. And thank you for having me. And thank you for this platform.
Such a pleasure.